Is this better? Sorry about that. I didn't realize that my microphone was off. Now you should be able to hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Hey Angie. Nice for you to join, but now I've forgotten what I was doing. Good thing I have a system. Mic is on. Great. So, how about some texture added in? I kind of don't like the pink part in this. The pink will not go. It has a little bit of pink fuzziness. I don't know. Should I just let it be? Or should I cut out the pink? If I cut out the pink, it just leaves very tiny bits of... Okay, let's avoid the real big pink section. And the rest of the sections are pretty small, so let's try that. I am weaving and drinking, that's true. So the joke I made when I just started was that I said, oh, I need something to drink. And I said, oh, let me get some apple cider. And Rima said, oh, you should have apple cider vinegar because it's more healthy. It's not pleasant to drink apple cider vinegar. So I am having hard cider. Much better to drink. So I'm just going to pass some of this. Let me actually take some and just cut it off and pass this fuzziness along if I can. Yeah, sure, let's see how that goes. You stay there. And I would also like to... I'm passing this gold out here as well. And now I'm also passing some of this textured yarn here, if I can. Let's not in any particular way, I'm just kind of going back and forth in certain direction, and hopefully it will give me a nice fuzziness out there. I just have to keep watching out for that shuttle which wants to fall off. Well, the bobbin, this guy. So this one, when I pass through, I do like a basic weave for the gold. I'm doing a basic weave going back and forth. And but for this guy, I'm going with like, I don't like to call it a twill because it's really not a twill, but I'm just raising 1 out of 4 threads is what I'm doing for the textured yarn. It's There was somebody on Facebook, I think it was Pam Corbin, who had asked how many names, what are the names by which you call your pets? And Casper gets called Boo Boo and Kanna and everything else other than Casper, I guess. He gets called Casper only when he's been bad and he needs to obey commands. Okay, so as you can see, this style of weaving is not particularly fast because you get to play with it as well as you're moving along. Let's just switch it and go there. So that can go down there. There are no rules as long as it's making sense in your head. It's fine. How is everyone's Sunday evening coming along? Supposedly it's a long weekend, is what I hear. So earlier I was taking the full shot from here to here with the gold. Now I'm just kind of restricting it to a smaller area. I've kind of been going back and forth with this gold for a while, just passing it along when I feel like it. My fuzzy yarn is almost coming to an end, so let's just not put it everywhere. There we go. There, let's keep it that way. I'm liking the feathered texture I'm getting out of that yarn. And let's take the gold and pass it only through here now. And let's take the textured yarn, which we still have some of it. Actually, let me switch the shed. There we go. Okay, so let's try that. Not the first time that's happened. I'm not in. The weather has been perfect. Yes, the weather actually has been pretty good today. And it's what, 78 today, which is pretty nice and warm, but very bearable for us Washingtonians. And especially with no air conditioning, it's been just fine. Every time drop a bobbin, pick it up, have a drink. Okay, let's continue on with the gold. You probably cannot even see the gold, it is so subtle, which is fine. Sometimes subtle is good. Okay, I need to remember to keep the bobbin this way, which does reduce the chance of it falling down. You haven't had 114 in September. Oh, you touch 114 today? Yeah, my 78 sounds like heaven to you probably. And here, let's go through fewer threads now. Let's just reduce that even further. Purple? What do you see purple, Wendy? Get your eyes checked. There is no purple here. It's just grays, your other favorite. Stop seeing things. I have gold, black, and some feathery textured stuff. Even Andy is included in the heat wave. Yeah. It would have been a really pleasant weekend for the men's knitting retreat, that's for sure. I'm just going to go through these few threads now. Just adding a little bit of gold there. Push that in. This is a very fine gold thread. It's not very fine, but it's definitely not a knitting yarn. That's for sure. It's pretty rough for that, but it does give a pretty nice shine. So that's always a good thing. I have tried to this fuzzy yarn I think is done for now. I have tried to use it in spinning, but it's too stiff for something like that. It doesn't bend much. You can see it doesn't fold. So and what I have currently on the black is dark gray 100% merino sport weight, which was recycled from a sweater. Oh, Sacramento was 109. Oh, that's very hot. Too hot. Something fuzzy out there. When do you have to tell me where do you see purple? Because I don't. And it makes me a little bit nervous as to where you're seeing purple. already open?
Well, not the puzzle. I mean, not the balloon.
Yeah. We're trying to get Casper to learn his new toy, but he has his limits. Yes, this would have been a really nice weekend to visit. Really good weather. It's perfect to be by Dumas Bay. And I do miss not having this social interaction today. I'm kind of liking the way the gold, see on the edges, it's curling up. I don't know if you can see that, but because it's such a stiffer yarn, it doesn't bend easily, so it has its own thing that it does. And I kind of do like this fuzziness action that happened here. It has a little pink in it, which I wasn't like very keen on, but it's fine. It pretty much is fall, actually. No doubt about that. Let's go on for a little bit longer. I think I'm going to go ahead and be done with the gold for now. So I'll just pass it through down below. Let's see if I can just cut that thread. That was risky. Thankfully, that's all uh, that's all I cut, and I didn't cut a warp thread. Okay, so that is done. I would like let's try to include this. Should I include this, or is it too soon? Maybe it's too soon for more sparkle. Maybe it needs more texture right now. Well, it got some texture there. I think it would like a lock in there. Do you think so? Let's separate these two out. So let's include this guy maybe here. There. I like it. The one thing that I'm doing different in this weave is I have salvage edges out here, and I wasn't quite sure how much I would like the idea of it, but it's not that bad. Okay, I need something else. I'm getting a little bored. I feel it's too black right now. Oh, I know. I have this thick and thin yarn, which I think I might do a few shots of. Maybe let's do a few plain shots for now, and then we'll switch. Cheers, whoever else is drinking this evening. So this is a thick and thin. So again, I'm going to raise alternate. I mean, 1 out of 4, and see how that works out. And I should probably go ahead and leave that end in. See. And now let's do a shot out here.
Upstairs.
And 3. So I guess 3 shots of this, and then I move on to this guy. I'm liking the thick and thin bits. I don't know if they are very obvious in your view, but they are in mine. We are almost coming to the end of this merino. I like it. Almost made it. And that's what the cool thing with Saori weaving is. It's fine if it didn't make it all the way through. Oh, you got to heat up dinner. You didn't miss much. I'm still here. I will be here for some more time. I'm not going super fast at this. I'm just thinking now with the thick and thin. I have this brown chenille. It's like a dark brown. This is the first time I've been doing something so much in neutral colors, so it's been a little challenging. It's pretty much going to be dinner time for us as well. So should I do this? Yeah, let's do this. Let's pass this along. So this is a single thick and thin yarn that I just passed a shot of, and believe it or not, it's actually a commercial thick and thin. I will not take credit for doing such a fine job of spinning it, because I did not spin it. I actually got it in a sale bin, because apparently nobody likes them. The warp is behaving fine actually. The spots I was worried about were these gold threads, and even now I can feel the tension of them a little stronger. So they are out here and out here, but it's not been as bad. You know, the wool is kind of nice and flexible, so it's working, and you can see my, you know, my weft is still pretty straight going along, so it's not doing those weird waves and stuff. Because I was finding that in the last warp, and not that, you know, there was anything wrong with that warp. It's just that in that the tension was making a bigger fuss about it than this one. Also, when I was, you know, putting this on the back beam, I was making sure that I'm not pulling the wool warp so much stronger, because I know that you pull it, but then it bounces back. But these kinds of threads, you know, this gold, which don't have any stretch in them, they don't. So when you're finally done, you land up with a much longer length left of the unstretchable ones, which basically means they are going to be tighter in the whole warp compared to the wool, because the wool always had that chance to bounce back in it. So so this time I kind of went like, okay, let's not just keep like tugging on as strong as I can. And I think that's the trouble I had with the previous warp. In this, this was a 5 yard warp as well. So just to give you a comparison, right? In the previous one, which was a 5 yard warp, there was these coral colored yarns in there. After I was done putting on the back beam with all my, you know, stretching and applying tension on the warp, I was left with almost like 12 inches extra of that particular coral warp. And that's the one which was, you know, getting super tight in the warp at the end when I was weaving. But again, I overcome that. In the finished fabric, you cannot tell the difference. This time around, again it's 5 yards. Again, I have a thread that's unstretchable, but the unstretchable thread this time was only around 5 inches longer than the rest of the warp. So that tells me that, well, over 5 yards, if it's only a 5 inch stretch, I know it's going to kind of behave. So it's basically these threads. There is this textured yarn, which I was a little concerned about. That's actually behaving pretty well. This one still there's a little higher tension on it compared to the others, like the, you know, the gold which we added. That's fine. The sequence yarn is actually behaving pretty well, which is out here, and I just added 2 threads of that. I wish I had added more, but I think I'm going to put some more in the weft. The ribbon yarn is also acting very well, and the tension seems to be pretty even throughout. So no complaints as such. Um, One thing I have realized through Saori weaving is, um, it's it's quite a learning experience as far as weaving is concerned. And the reason being that, I don't know, Evanita, if you have gone through this, that um, you know, you're not kind of sure as to what set to use for a particular warp that you have prepared, right? You kind of keep going back and forth. They're like, well, will this, at least for me, that was the case when I started weaving. It's like any yarn I got, I don't know what's the exact ends per inch I should use for that particular yarn. Okay. Yeah, I thought they would need to be removed, but so far it feels good. If at a later point they need to be removed, they need to be removed. You know, they will still be in this part of the fabric, so I'm not super worried about it, which is what the nice thing about Saori weaving is. It's like, you know, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. If it does break, so regarding being a beginner weaver, I still consider myself a beginner. But when I initially started weaving, it was always like I never knew how many ends per inch to do for a particular fabric. And the only response you'll get from everyone is, well, you sample, you sample, you sample, which I get. It's kind of like knitting. You swatch, you swatch, you swatch to know which size needle will give you what kind of fabric, whether it's a fabric you like, all those endless things, right? We all know about it. But it still takes a long time. Oh, what did I do? I passed the shuttle through the wrong end, but it's fine. So it takes a while to figure out as to what works and what doesn't work. Yeah, for twill, you actually put the number of ends per inch a lot closer together. So it's like if you are doing, if you're doing 10 ends per inch, 10 ends per inch for a basic weave, for 12, you could get it a little closer to 12 ends per inch. So, and it all depends on what kind of fabric you need, and then it depends on the weft that you use, because if your warp is too close together, then it becomes mostly warp facing. But if you use a very thin yarn going back and forth, it still could be weft facing, because the thin yarn could probably be very flexible and it can still go back and forth and still pack in really tight, and your warp might still not show. So it's kind of like a mix of what warp and what weft and how hard you beat and what ends per inch you put in and all of that. The good thing about Saori weaving, why I think it's a good learning experience, is because all of these, there are a lot of different weight yarns in here. There is some hand spun, there's sport weight, there's worsted weight, there is novelty yarns, there's fingering weight, there is just basic sock yarn, which is your merino nylon mix. There is cotton yarns, there is these rayon threads in there. There is all kinds of stuff in here. And I'm using all kinds of different stuff in the weft as well. So I can kind of go through this, and while I'm weaving, going like, oh, this is such an open structure, or this is such a closed structure, or if I'm doing twill with something, I go like, oh, I actually don't like that too much. And it kind of gives you an idea for doing, I think, a regular project. Not that a regular project is very interesting to me right now. Right now, I just think that, oh, I just want to weave like this. But I think looking at this and looking at how the fabric is coming along, it makes a big difference whether, I do it one way or the other. 3, 4, 4, so let's go there. I need some new shuttles. This one came with my loom, which is fine, but the bobbin doesn't sit down, it bounces up, so it always the top of the bobbin gets caught in my warp, which I don't like. And then this is the one I purchased, and I like it. It's open at the bottom and top, and it flies. This is the one I always pick up. And I have this other one, which is also a Leclerc bobbin, which also came with the loom, but it is too thick. This one does sit nice and flat down, but sometimes it doesn't go through the shed easily because it's a lot thicker than this. I need more like this, narrow profile and all of that. So yeah, that is extremely annoying. Like, it just doesn't go down when you want it to. But I need to. So 4, and then go here. I'm liking this. Let's move our lock. So for the two I like the best are the slim 11-inch in marker solid bottom and an open bottom 9-inch Shack Slim. Okay, yeah. So this is open bottom. This is also a Leclerc, and I don't think this is 9-inch. I think this is probably 11-inch, and I don't mind the length of it. I'm fine with. But what is the thickness you're talking about? The slim. I think this is a slim. I definitely am all for the slim ones because my loom does not make a huge shed. So the slimmer it is, the better, I think. So that's what, now I know what to shop for when I'm looking for more shuttles. Because even now, this like barely makes it through. So that's what's kind of annoying sometimes. 3, 4, that's 2. So I think Evanita, even you had put what do you call salvage edges in your weaving, right? So how did you like working with that? Your weaving looks pretty neat, your edges look amazing, but I'm sure you are being extremely critical about it. But this is the first time I'm putting salvage edges in my weaving. And it's a little slower when it comes to weaving. Because especially when I'm doing plain weaving, in the other case I can just go back and forth, but here I kind of need to make my shed and pick up the end so that it goes under. There, that shuttle is getting caught again. Annoying. Okay, I'm just going on and on with this, but I'm kind of liking it, so I guess it's fine. Four, four, four. So back to 1. The floating salvage helped a lot, but I do get a bit on my edges. Controlling it. Yeah, the key to actually, what I've heard, I'm no expert at this, but the key to getting good edges is actually learning how to throw your shuttle properly rather than um, always holding your edge or making sure that you're curling it around properly and all that. that kind of actually puts you in a bad habit, because then you'll always be fidgeting with it and you'll never make a good edge. I'm actually pretty happy with the edges I'm getting on this. Even though I'm using a thick and thin yarn and doing all of that, my edges are coming out pretty even. So that I'm good with. The others, and the thing is, it's like the more I forget about it, they come out better. The more I think about it, the worse they get. So there's a thing about, letting it go, get in the practice of throwing your shuttle properly, and it's fine. Hey, you sent me two pictures. Let me see what you sent me. Yeah, so in 12, I can see, um, yeah, and there is this other thing too. These are pretty good edges, but there is also this thing where, the experts in weaving, not me, but who can tell whether you're a right-handed person or a left-handed person just looking at your edges in your weaving. Because they can tell whether, because if you're right-handed, you have a stronger right arm, so you throw it much faster, or with much more force, so it tends to pull in further on this side versus the other side. I think it's a skill by itself to be able to figure that out, but apparently people can tell, so good for them. And I mostly land up holding the edge for the very first shot in this particular case, because I have a thick yarn going, and then the thin yarn needs to kind of go over that thick yarn. So I kind of am trying to control it then, but once I make the first shot with the dark brown, I just keep going back and forth without touching the edge. Yeah, and man, edges are like, I think people stress out too much about it. And which is one reason why I like Saori weaving, because they say don't worry about your edges because it doesn't matter. I can make loops on the side of this fabric if I want, and that'd be just fine. So yeah, it's and my edges I think have gotten better after I've started doing the Saori weaving. 3, 4, 4, 4, 2. So there's something to be said about that. Yeah, there are people who stress on beating closed, others stress on beating open. I kind of tend to beat after switching my shed. So I'm kind of like the third case scenario. Um, it's not exactly when I do that, but I'll show you what exactly I mean. So open shed beating would be, you know, the shed is open, you have passed your yarn through, and you go ahead and beat it in the open state. Closed shed beating is when you close it and then you beat it. What I'll end up doing is I close it and then I switch the next shed while I beat it. So my second shed is open right now and ready to go. So I'm going, and my second shed is open. So I kind of do a simultaneous thing. And my next shed is open. So I think I'm kind of closing it during a closed shed, but at the same time my second shed is opening as well. So You have to put your weaving on hold to work on a Ply magazine commission spin. Oh, cool. That sounds like fun. You switch to the next shed and beat as well. Yeah, I think that's kind of nice. Oh, Diana, is she here? Hey, Diana. Now you can watch and go like, what is this guy up to? Why is he doing such neutral colors? Because he has completely lost it, apparently. Hello. So yeah, the weaving has been happening, and I'm actually coming towards the end of this thick and thin. I've been doing this for quite some time. I've just been enjoying it quite a bit, and it's been interesting. It's soothing to watch somebody else work, but that's good. Even though that other person, maybe it's soothing because I'm using neutrals, right? That could be it. Okay, so that's the end of that bobbin. And sorry, Dan, but I need to take a break. I've been weaving for almost an hour now, and bobbin is over. So, to give you a preview, well, that was dumb. But these are, let me see if I can point the camera up. But these are all the colors. I don't know if the colors do come up. Well, they are not colors. I have a lot of golds. I do plan on using some of the extra um, mohair that you had sent me in the last when we did the warp exchange. So then there's golds. There's some chartreuse yellow, but it's still kind of the yellow. There is some very ugly olive green, and then I have some of this merino and black silk, which I've had it forever. I know the light is probably not showing the colors properly. I have all this thick and thin yarn, one of which I used. I have a lot of chenille out here. These are all the chenille yarns, one of which I used here. I have some textured yarns, sequence yarns, hand spun, some more commercial yarns, some more cone yarns. This is some black with some silk bits that I have in it. It's a really funny. I have a huge cone of it, so it has some color specs in it, but that's essentially what I plan on using. And of course, I have my bag of textures. You have more with mohair. No, I think I'm done with mohair. I am. I think I want to finish it by using it in this weave and then be like, okay, that's good. And I like mohair for core yarn spinning, but again, not always. I like it because it makes a more fluffy yarn, but sometimes I want a very neat core spun. For that, then I prefer an acrylic core or a sport weight one. Well, thank you, Avanita. This is a bobbin rack which I landed up making myself only when I got into Saori weaving, and it happened because of watching Diana's amazing bobbin rack. But I think Diana is that specially for Saori looms, I would imagine, because it kind of fits on that loom in a certain way, and I think she can hold like 50 bobbins or something like that. Mine can hold around 24, and all I did is I had this wood. It was a different it's a different wood than the wood of this, but once I put a finish on it, the colors match pretty well, and I just added nails in it, um, finishing nails, and my bobbins sit pretty nicely out there. Because earlier I was just digging through this big box of all these different bobbins I wind up and picking one at random. This way I kind of like to see, I put my kind of colors and stuff on one side, or if I'm doing two colors, I can separate them if I want to, and put my textured yarns in there if I want to. But I have a lot of my art yarns and stuff, they are sitting in a bin down here. So those get added in whenever it's needed. Yeah, that's an aftermarket product, right? That's made by the husband of the Saori dealer. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I knew it was very specific for Saori weaving because it holds their bobbins. Because their shuttles are different as well, I imagine. But yeah, and most Saori looms they even have like the bobbin winder. I like my drill machine. So anyway, those are all the bobbins. You see the bobbins, and I need to take a break. I've been weaving for a while. My apple cider is almost to an end. I need to have dinner. All right, I know it's getting late. It's almost 9 o'clock. So, oh, so it holds regular 4-inch bobbins. Oh, that's good because these are 4-inch as well. I wasn't quite sure. You're just telling me to wind bobbins. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I have used my I use the quill attachment, and I have used that. That becomes easy. But when there are so many bobbins, I need to keep switching yarns. I prefer the drill machine. I have a chopstick that just fits exactly in these bobbins, and it works. All right, I gotta go. Good night. Thank you for joining in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.